You did not move your stop loss because the trade turned against you. You moved it because you could not stand to be wrong. And until you understand that difference, you will keep doing it for the rest of your trading life. I have spent decades watching traders do the exact same thing you did this week. I watched them do it in the 80s, before the screens looked anything like they do now. And the strange thing, the thing that took me years to fully accept, is that the tools changed and the platforms changed and the speed changed, but the trader in the chair never did. The way of thinking I built my whole approach around the ideas people know me for as Mark Douglas came from watching that one behavior repeat itself in thousands of different people who all believed they were the exception. You are not the exception. And that is the good news, though it will not feel like it yet. Let me be direct with you before we go any further. The reason results are downstream of the mind and not the chart is the reason a trading journal matters more than another indicator. And there is a tool built for exactly that now, an AI-powered journal called the Speculator's Journal, built around the idea that what you feel in the moment is the real trade, not the entry. I will come back to it because it connects to everything I am about to tell you. The link is in the description. Take a look when you are done here. Now, let me hold up the mirror. You set your stop, you knew where it went, you did the analysis, you found the level, you placed the order, and for about a minute you felt like a professional. Then price started walking toward that stop, and something in your chest tightened. You told yourself the level was still valid. You told yourself the market was just grabbing liquidity. You told yourself you would move it just this once, just a little, just to give the trade room to breathe. And you moved it. Then price came back to the new stop, and you moved it again. How many times have you known exactly where your stop belonged and watched your own hand drag it lower? How many times have you turned a small, clean, planned loss into a large, ugly, unplanned one, not because your analysis was wrong, but because you could not sit still? How many times have you promised yourself out loud that this was the last time and then done it again the very next day? You do not have a stop loss problem. You have a being wrong problem. And here is what I want you to hear, because it is the parallel that matters. When I, Mark Douglas, sat with traders who had blown up accounts that should have survived 100 times over, the story was never about a bad system. It was always the same emotional flinch. The stop was not a number to them. It was a verdict. And no human being wants to sign the paper that says they were wrong, so they reached out and they moved the line and they called it flexibility. I saw it so many times that I stopped believing the market was the problem at all. The problem was sitting in the chair holding the mouse. You are not stupid. Let me say that clearly, because your ego is going to try to twist this into an attack. You are probably sharper than most people who will ever touch a chart. Your analysis is likely fine. That is exactly why this hurts. Because if the problem were your analysis, you could just learn more. Read another book, watch another video. But the problem is not in your head as an idea. It is in your body as a reaction. And that is fixable, but not by getting smarter. Now let me destroy something you have been carrying for years. Here is the lie. You have been told that a good trader protects their capital by managing the trade actively, by staying engaged, by reacting to what price is doing in real time. So when you move your stop, some part of you feels like you are being attentive, responsive, skilled. The truth is the opposite. Moving your stop is not management. It is the single clearest signal that you have abandoned the plan and handed the wheel to your fear. Let me explain why you believe the lie. Your brain did not evolve to trade. It evolved to keep you alive. And staying alive meant avoiding pain and avoiding threat right now in the moment. A stop loss is a small, deliberate, chosen pain. Every survival instinct you have screams at you to avoid it. So when price approaches that line, your nervous system does not see a trade, it sees a predator. And it does what it was built to do 100,000 years ago. It flinches away from the pain. Moving the stop feels like survival. That is why willpower alone loses to it every single time. This is the heart of what I spent my life teaching. The idea that made Mark Douglas worth listening to at all was never a chart pattern. It was this: the market is neutral. It does not know you exist. Every trade is a single sample drawn from a probability, and you do not know, you cannot know what the next single sample will be. Your job is not to be right on this trade. Your job is to execute your edge the same way, over and over, across a large enough series that the probability can express itself. Think about a casino for a moment. The house does not sweat a single hand of blackjack. It does not move the table limits because one gambler is on a streak. It knows its edge, and it knows the edge only shows up over thousands of hands. It stays mechanical, while everyone at the table stays emotional. That is why the house always wins. Not because it wins every hand, because it never once breaks its own rules over the outcome of a single one. You are moving your stop because you are trying to win this hand. And professionals do not think in hands. They think in the deck. So if the problem is a reaction, then the solution has to be a rule that removes the reaction from the moment entirely. And that is the one rule I want to give you. Let me name it plainly. The rule is this. Your stop is set once before the trade is live. And it is never, ever moved against you. Not lower on a long, not higher on a short, not once. Not a little, never. This is non-negotiable. The rule is simple to state and brutal to follow, so let me tell you exactly how it works and why it defeats the flinch. The reason you can move your stop is that in the heat of the trade, the decision is still available to you. Your hand can reach the line. The choice is live. So the entire trick is this. You must make the decision at a time when you are calm and then remove your own ability to remake it when you are afraid. Here is how you do it. Precisely. Before you enter, you decide 3 things and you write them down. Your entry, your stop, your size. And your size is calculated from your stop, not the other way around. You risk a fixed, small amount of your account on this trade. Let us say 1%. 1% every trade, every time. You place the entry order, and in the same action, you place the stop order, live, in the market. Not in your head, not a mental stop, a resting order sitting on the exchange. And then you take your hand off the mouse. I know what you are thinking. You are thinking, but what if the level really was wrong? What if I genuinely misjudged it? Am I not allowed to adapt? And here is the answer. You adapt on the next trade, not this one. You are allowed to learn. You are not allowed to renegotiate a decision with a version of yourself that is scared. The calm you decided at your desk is wiser than the frightened you halfway through the trade. Always. So the calm one gets to set the terms, and the frightened one does not get a vote. That is the whole rule. Let me walk you through it exactly as it happens. You find your setup, you mark your entry at, say, $100. Your stop, based on the actual structure, sits at 98. That is a $2 risk per share. You have decided you risk $100 on this trade, no more. So you buy 50 shares, not because 50 feels right, because the math of your stop told you 50. You place the buy and the stop at 98 together, then you get up, you get a glass of water, price drops to 98.50. Your chest tightens. The old you reaches for the mouse. But there is nothing to do because the order is already resting in the market and your rule says you do not touch it. Price hits 98. You are out. You lost $100, exactly what you decided to lose. Back when you were calm. A planned loss, a clean loss, a professional loss. And here is what almost no one tells you. That loss is a win. Because you followed the rule, your job was never to be right on that trade. Your job was to execute your edge without flinching, and you did. The money is gone, but the discipline is intact, and the discipline is the only thing that compounds. This is why the rule matters. Because you do not know what will happen on the next trade. You never will. And a stop loss is simply you making peace with that uncertainty in advance, in writing, while you are calm enough to be honest. Moving it is you trying to escape the one truth that makes trading work at all. Now let me bring the tool back, because this is where it earns its place. The reason this is so hard is that the flinch is invisible to you in the moment. You do not feel it as fear, you feel it as a reasonable thought. That is the trap. And the only way out is to see your own pattern laid bare over time, to watch yourself do the same thing across 20 trades until you cannot deny it anymore. In my day, all I could hand a trader was the instruction to observe himself honestly and write it down by hand and hope he was not lying to himself on the page. It was the weakest part of everything I taught, not because it was wrong, but because I had no way to make a person actually see themselves. The Speculator's Journal is the thing I could describe, but never hand anyone, a way to finally watch your own emotional pattern instead of just being told it exists. The link is in the description if you want it. So here is what I am asking you to commit to. Set your stop once before entry from structure, not from fear. Size every position off that stop so 1% is all that is ever at risk. Place the stop as a live order the moment you enter. Take your hand off the mouse and let the trade resolve. And when it loses, write down not the loss, but the fact that you followed the rule, because that is the number that actually matters. Do that on every single trade for 6 months. Not most trades, every trade. And I promise you what happens. 6 months from now, you will place a trade and price will crawl toward your stop and you will feel that old tightness in your chest and you will do nothing. You will feel it and let it pass the way a veteran feels turbulence and keeps reading his book. The trade will stop you out and you will feel almost nothing because the loss was never the threat. Being wrong was the threat, and you will have made peace with being wrong 1,000 small times until it lost its teeth. That is what mastery actually looks like. Not a screen full of green, not a huge win you brag about, a boring, quiet, mechanical acceptance of a small loss, over and over until the account grows underneath you almost without your noticing. You did not move your stop because the trade went against you. You moved it because you needed to be right. And the day you stop needing to be right on any single trade is the day you finally start trading like the professional you already have the intelligence to be. The trader Mark Douglas always believed was sitting inside people like you, buried under a survival instinct that was never designed for a market. Let the rule dig him out. Ask yourself one honest question before your next session. Are you actually tracking what you feel and where you flinch, or are you only tracking whether you won? Because one of those makes you better and the other just keeps score.